Hello, hello. Right, looks like you are all doing back-to-back-to-back streams, taking a look at things. Can I get a quick audio check and screen check that everyone can see the slides, can hear me all right? That would really help make sure that we can get this going, because I know you've got another stream right after this, so it will be a speedy hour or less than that. I know you had a great stream with Wei just a bit ago, so looking like chat's already telling me that things are good, so let's go ahead and get started. I know your brains are probably leaking all that information from Wei's stream, but I'll try and keep this simple. My goal is to make sure that you're no longer afraid of design, that you are curious about using Figma, and getting familiar with how to code with it, even though it's a design tool. So, to kick us all off, as a reminder, if you didn't join us at opening ceremony, my name is Cecilia and I'm a coach here at Major League Hacking, and I love giving presentations not just about code, but mostly about design these days, purely because design is becoming so much more accessible and so much more fun to do. And I know that I've definitely had hackers tell me, well, I'm pretty scared, like how do I know what color and size and accessibility and everything else? And well, this is a great place to get started. So, to kick us off, I want to tell you what we're going to be doing today, which is that we'll get access to Figma Dev Mode. If you saw my notification in Discord, you probably got early access to that. So go ahead and check that out. If you haven't checked in, go right ahead and do so. I posted a link earlier in chat. It's also here on the screen for a little bit longer. I'll paste it one more time in just a couple minutes. We're going to cover some Figma fundamentals and see what the translation is across tools if you happen to use other ones. We'll work very quickly with Dev Mode, build a quick project, and see what it looks like in code if we have time. We might skip that part with the intent of actually taking a look at something brand new that Figma introduced that I won't get a chance to demo today, but I want you to take the chance to explore before anyone else can. So, what is Figma? Well, the goal is to make design accessible for all. There's plenty of opportunities to use Figma's tool in different ways, from Figma design to planning out what your app is going to look like with your friends, with your collaborators, with your peers, or with other leading industry professionals. So not only can you create designs and make them wireframes or other things that are industry standard, you'll get a chance to do this all for free. Then we've got FigJam. And if you're familiar with using online whiteboards, or you like doing brainstorming, concept maps, mind maps, or anything else, this is your time to shine. FigJam is yet another way to do any sort of flowcharting, notes, etc. that you want to do collaboratively, and makes it really intuitive. We've got Figma Slides, which is what I'm actually using to present to you today. Another online multiplayer slide creation, or multiplayer slide creation tool, with that aspect of being able to use Figma design, use your assets very natively. We love it. And of course, concurrency, and being able to create interactive widgets and all sorts of wonderful things. And there are so many templates out there. Then we've got Figma Dev Mode, which is the thing I think you'll love the most. As long as you're an active student, you can get access to Figma Dev Mode for free. If you're not an active student, I'm sorry to say there isn't really an alternative to this just yet, but I know that it's a pretty affordable per month payment if you're willing to do that. That said, you don't need Dev Mode, but it is a really nice extra benefit when you're learning what it means to design things and what they look like in code. So another online multiplayer developer assistant, and it generates code for you that you can use in your active developer workflow. And it also has integrations with Jira, GitHub, VS Code, and plenty else. So as for what we're using today, we're mostly focusing on Figma Design and Dev Mode. We are using Figma Slides in the back end in how we're presenting this to you. So like I said, this is what we're using. We'll spend most of our time today in Figma Design. We'll spend a little bit of time in Dev Mode and then see what we can get out of it. As for why learn Figma, well, why learn any design tool? Figma is another industry standard tool for designing products used by a vast majority of Fortune 500s and their startups. And it isn't hard to find a company that doesn't use Figma in their design process. Did I negative that right? It's hard to find a company that doesn't use Figma somewhere in the design process. There we go. And one of the biggest perks is that they have design systems that make it much easier that you're designing with the kits that they use instead of just having to design it from scratch like you would with other design tools. That said, if you're joining me from another tool that I won't mention, but there are plenty of design tools out there, a lot of your skills are transferable. And I mention this every presentation that I do for Figma, but if you happen to see one of my old tech streams from MLH, you'll know that there is one series where I said, I don't know Figma, but I do know design, and I want to see how fast I can learn Figma on stream. And I was able to pick it up within about 30 minutes with my prior design experience, which leads me to believe that if given the opportunity where maybe you don't have Figma in your industry, or maybe you are trying to figure out different design tools and what works for you, if you learn Figma here, much like when you learn a coding language, you'll be able to translate that skill anywhere you go to whatever tool it is that you're using. So as a reminder, just want to make sure that before we really get into the meat of what we're doing, that you've had a chance to check in, that you count your live events that you've attended, because we really do love to see how many people are attending them, what they're interested in, and also, of course, making sure that you get your points. I'm going to go ahead and drop that there. Cool. So with Figma, like I mentioned this design kit idea, where instead of you having to make iOS and iPadOS or Material 3 designs or simple designs from scratch, you don't have to. And that's a big time sink gone, where you can make anything iOS and iPadOS, mock it up, see what it looks like without having to spend time on those details. It provides all the tools and components you'll need to follow their design guidelines to have that consistent experience. So we're no longer in the days where we all need to make it up ourselves. By the same token, you can do the exact same thing with Material 3 design for Google, where once again, you can work on things like Android or things that are for Android devices, and it already has ready-made components, styles, layouts, and other things to follow with Google's material design principles. Really, really nice, because back in the day, I was making things from scratch. It was rough. Then you have the simple design system, which you'll notice that there's a lot of familiarity to maybe things that you already use in your day-to-day. This is now becoming a clean and easy to use design system made for Figma by Figma and for non-Figma things like a web app. It offers a simple collection of components and styles for you to create something visually appealing and also something that makes sense because, good user experience. Now, as I go through this presentation, I really want to make sure that you know that I'm coming from a background that's actually in print. I make flyers, like edit photos, make RSVP, save the dates, like fun cards, like things that are printed out, which is very different than digital design. That said, that means that I take a different approach than other people. So just as a way to make this make sense for you, design is not linear. There may be rules, but the rules of design, once you learn them, you can break them on purpose to make even better designs. So regardless of where your background is, whether you prefer to design for print, or digital technologies, or phones, or tablets, or you've never done design at all, you will be able to find a way that works for you with the things that you like to do, but you'll all follow the same rules, keeping in mind whatever the constraints are of your device or preferred media. So even though I teach this way, so to speak, don't feel locked in. You can absolutely change your perspective at any time, whether it's watching another coach give this workshop or seeing past instances of the Figma workshop or just figuring out what works for you and why. Just make sure you can repeat it. Okay, so to that point, we're learning a skill for the future. By designing and working on these things, you have so many more opportunities to think about how design affects the user. And most online products are designed by teams that use Figma. So you are learning how to hand off design to developers. You're learning about how we convert that to code and how Figma helps facilitate that process with, Dev Mode. So by gaining experience with Figma, you'll become a better engineer, which means you'll be able to talk design to designers and talk engineering to engineers, but you'll be able to bridge that gap, which is really important today because there's so many different skills floating around. Being able to communicate those effectively to the people involved, priceless. All right. And where can you use Figma? Well, anywhere you want. You can use it on Chrome or the web browser. You can use it Chrome, Safari, wherever it is you prefer, desktop and mobile, VS Code. Lots of opportunities, which we love to see. I will say I personally have only ever done things on the web browser or on desktop. I have not used Figma on mobile or VS Code, and I am still to this day waiting for someone in chat to tell me, hey, I used it in either of those two things I mentioned, and tell me what it's like. I haven't had a reason to do it, but I don't know what the experience is like, so let me know. As for you, since many of you are new based on how opening ceremony went, welcome. We want to get you access to Dev Mode, which is a great free tool for students. So if you go to mlh.link/Figma, you can go ahead and sign up for the education plan. And I'm sorry, but if you are not an active student, there is a very likely chance you cannot get this for free. Now, getting Figma Dev Mode is actually part of one of your featured challenges. So I recommend signing up for Figma, getting that all sorted, so that way you can go ahead and get that free check off. And if you already have Dev Mode, easy peasy, screenshot, you already got it. Aha, somebody has told me. Mobile is very unfriendly. I'm very not surprised to see that or hear that, but understandable. Yes, so one of the featured challenges is going to be to sign up for a Figma account. In order to sign up for a Figma account and therefore Figma education, you'll need a Figma account. So this is a very quick 5-minute thing. I'm going to hang around on this slide so folks can go ahead and sign up, check off that easy challenge while they're able to. Obviously, if you're watching this as a recording, go ahead and hit pause or skip ahead after you're ready. But for those of you who are live with me, like I said, this is one of the featured challenges because it's one of our featured partners. Just give me a moment while I grab water because I forgot that. All right, water. Stay hydrated out there. Oh, we have somebody who uses Dev Mode at work. That's awesome. They don't design, but they use it to develop new features according to spec. We'd love to see it. That's a really cool use of it. All right, I do know that we started late. We are doing a bit of a speed run, and also because I am kind of crashing and kind of tired, but we got to keep that energy up because you have more workshops after this, and I do want to give you a break given that there really wasn't a break between my workshop and Waze. We'll speed run a little bit, and hopefully we have time for everything we want to get through. Like I said, you can always come back to this workshop. It will be recorded and available on YouTube after the fact, so you can go ahead and check it out, but let's keep going. Okay. So much to go through. Okay, so let's talk basics about Figma. Before I open up the tool, I want to walk you through what the sections are, because the first part about learning a tool is learning where things are going to be located. So when you open a new design file, you're going to have 4 distinct regions: the canvas, the toolbar, and the left and right sidebars. The outline is going to be where you can pan around pretty much your canvas. You can zoom in and out using any of the controls on the screen. So if you're comfortable with like zooming in and out on a scroll pad or a Mac, or clicking and dragging or space, these are very common UX experiences that you should already kind of know about. And if not, this is your chance to learn. This will actually be fairly consistent across most design tools. So transferable skill, heyo. But this is going to be the place that you interact with the most, because this is where your assets or the things that you're putting on the canvas will be. Next, you've got the toolbar, and this is where almost every tool is located. Hooray! We love easy access. There's a lot of different things on this toolbar, and they often have consistent icons that make sense with working with it. Like the move tool is going to be a cursor, and think about the V in move as your shortcut key. Frame is something that is unique to Figma. For me, frames are kind of like blank areas, or I'm forgetting the actual name of the tool that I've used in the past, but like frames are good ways of like outlining things like mentally for me. And that's a design philosophy difference. But frames can not only be the main building blocks or groupings or rectangles or something. There's a lot of depth to how these keywords, while similar, are still slightly different. Then you got the shape tool, which is used to create rectangles. This can hold images, videos, GIFs, or even just hold pieces of color like a background. Then you've got the pen tool, which is if you have a shape that is non-standard and you want to create it. So it's quite literally putting points down to create a very distinct shape of whatever you'd like. You've got the text tool, very consistent, put text in field, cool. Then you've got the comment tool, which is going to be for annotations. Actions, which I'm not really going to go into, but if you ever want to use plugins or extend your Figma experience, that's the place. And finally, Dev Mode, which we'll talk about later, which gets you in and out of the specific mode on how you want to generate code for what you're creating. Next comes the left sidebar. And for me, the left sidebar is almost always going to be where you manage, well, actually, hang on, pause. The left sidebar, if you use other tools, may not be intuitively simple. If you come from other tools, it might be the right sidebar that you're more familiar with, being where you manage and organize objects. So think of it like where all your layers are, where your groupings are, where your names of your layers, titles, text, things that if you click that icon of what's within the pages that you can see in this icon, or this picture here, you'll be able to select or highlight the thing that you are hovering over or selecting. And that'll make more sense when I interact with the canvas when we actually do a demo together, which will come very, very shortly. But for the rest of the world who did not grow up on Figma, it's often flipped. And it's not on the left, it's on the right. So it's just a mind switch if you're coming from that. No biggie. Then you've got the right sidebar, where if you're coming from that, that same flip, the right sidebar is also properties. So that one's at least consistent. It's just like separated, which is actually kind of nice because now you're not like cramming everything into one side of the window. But the right sidebar is where you edit the properties. And so if you're familiar with object-oriented programming or wanting to edit specific things, remember that it's very important that you know what you've selected at any given time. What you have selected is going to show you the properties for that object and anything nested, give or take, with some exceptions. So this is for when you want to change size, text, managing interactions, change the padding, change the margin, change the color. Anything related to the physical attributes of this thing and how it behaves is going to be changed in the right sidebar. So, and we'll go through this, like I said, in the demo project we have. But there are so many things to properties. You can even change the properties of your canvas, which is the thing that's holding all your stuff together in a file. So I'll show you a quick little Easter egg that isn't really an Easter egg, but like how deep the customization can go. Now, I'm speeding through this, I know, but if you want to visit more things, if you're realizing there's so much that you want to learn, you want to take a chance to read or watch or just like learn more about things, you'll want to go to the Figma resource library and to Figma Learn. You can use this link, just type it in and like at another point, pause the video, whatever it is you're doing. So that way you can actually go ahead and just keep digging on what's out there because there's quite a bit. Right, and then, so I've given you a chance to get that link. Again, you can always watch the recording, you can always come back. The reason I'm speeding through this is Way's workshop ran a bit long, and I know you've got another workshop coming after this, and I really want to give you a break. So we're trying to turn an hour workshop into like 40 minutes, so that way you have some time. It's a bit rough. Okay, so by this point, hopefully you either have Figma in your web browser and open, or you have the app already and it's open, or you're still working on getting dev mode, but you at least have like an account or something. So if you don't have dev mode by this point, no worries, totally fine. I'll do my best to make sure that you can follow along. Again, you can always watch another stream. There is another one on Monday. You can always watch a recording of this, put this at like 1.5 or put this at like 0.5 speed, whatever you need. You can also leave me questions, and I'm kind of jumping back and forth to make sure that I can try and answer as many as I can. I do see that unfortunately the registration is showing an error after filling the verification form. I'm going to toss this off to the team to investigate later on, because I thought this happened earlier with Way's stream. There was something up there too. I'm going to pass it on to the team once we're done with the workshop, so that way, hopefully that gets fixed, whatever is going on there. Or you can try it going ahead and pasting that like error in a support ticket or in Discord, so that way folks who are on the full-time team can take a look at it when they get a chance. No guarantees as to when they'll address that, but like I'll make sure that they know. Cool. So Figma is open. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we're doing. We are making a UI card project, and if you've never heard of a card in terms of web design, then it's better for me to describe what it could be like, which is if you go to a hackathon website, you might see cards for sponsors, where maybe sponsors have the same kind of like design for each of them, and it gives you a little bit about them. Or maybe the cards are available for the organizer team, and you'll see like everybody has like a picture, the name, and like a quick blurb about them or like a fun fact. But it's like a consistent design across, and you have this card repeating all over the place. Another way to think of it is like, oh, you're making like Pokemon cards or some other trading game cards, and how they always have the same structure, but they have different content within them. But there's like, again, fairly consistent structure. So we're going to do that for web design, so that way you can see what that's like. So again, I always say this, and every time I run this Figma workshop, this is not how I would design, because I work in print, not in digital. With digital, you have all the space in the world to work with. But in print, you're often working on specifically constrained size. So the design principles there are different, where web designers start small and build outward up to some constraint of like a website or like a mobile app. Print workers start out from the constraint and work their way in, always considering that. So like how I would start this is I would actually create a bounding box of an expected size. Because we're making a UI card, it can be any size we want, and it just changes depending on the content. So some design philosophy to like think about like decisions and how you approach things. And for some people, they prefer to work outward in, and some people prefer to work inward outward. Everyone has a preference. You're not breaking any rules. Sometimes there's a reason or a method to the madness. Sometimes it's just a matter of preference. Cool. So text box, you can type T or you can click the text button on the bottom of the toolbar and type a quick title. It could be my first hackathon win or my first project. You can use a UI card anywhere, whether it's naming your hackathon team or introducing the projects on your portfolio or talking about all of your hackathon accomplishments or whatever else you'd like to list out in a consistent format. After you've created the text box by typing T, you're going to go ahead and create a rectangle shape above it by typing R on your keyboard or clicking the shape button on the bottom. Remember that square? And so you'll just drag and create a rectangle. Once you've done that, you're going to go ahead and add some more text. So again, type T, type in all sorts of, gobbledygook, whatever it is you like to type, keyboard spam. If you're familiar with design principles and templating, you might go and find a lorem ipsum generator, which is how you would just fill text that you're like, I need text up to a certain size, up to a certain character limit, whatever. There are many ways for you to fill text without you putting in too much effort. Okay, and at this point, I'm going to go ahead and start swapping over to see me doing it, so that way you can actually watch me do it. And it's not just me telling you like, go do this and go do that. I just try to get a few slides in so that way we have a couple things to work with. Okay, and then the last thing we'll do for this like mini section of the UI card project is we're going to turn that rectangle into an image holder, which is where I'm going to switch over and show you, because it's not always the most intuitive unless you like know what icons to look for. And this is actually what stops designers, is that they aren't familiar with the tools like people who are learning design don't often know the tools they have available to them, or like how they can make their life easier because it maybe wasn't introduced to them. And that's totally okay. It's very much exposure therapy and slowly learning what each thing does and why you might use one over the other. Okay, so let me go ahead and change screens. Screen, window. Is that it? Hang on. Oh no, that's not what I wanted to do. Hang on. Why are you doing that? Figma is, oh God. Oh no. Okay, I see what's going on. Hang on. I have done terrible things to my window. No, don't do that. No. Hang on. Sorry, y'all. Figma was trying to be helpful and I was like, wait, hold up. No, not like that. Just put you in a different, no, it's not gonna let me. Okay, that's fine. It's not gonna let me do what I wanted to do, but that's okay. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and just delete that. We are starting fresh. Let me go ahead and add this to the screen. There we go. Okay, so I have this in dark mode, but as I mentioned, like you can do all sorts of things. We have the layer stuff on the left and the properties on the right. And right now we're actually looking at the canvas, and we can actually change the color of the canvas at any time. So if we wanted to change the color, we can do that. I'm gonna go ahead and hit undo. So if you ever want to change the background of the canvas, especially if you're doing anything in color theory, or you're really wanting to make sure that like, things make sense in context, you should probably consider doing that. And you can also change the opacity or how transparent something is with that percentage there. You can also hide it and give it this transparent feel as well. Okay, so originally we had to create a text box. So I typed T, where I'm going to go ahead and my first hackathon, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and Command A because I'm on a Mac. It might be Control A if you're on a Windows machine. I'm going to do Command B because those shortcuts still work to make it bold, but I'm going to change that text to 24 because I want it to be a title size. Then I'm going to go to shape, and I'm using my mouse and a mix of keyboard commands just to show you can alternate things. I'm going to draw that rectangle up top. As you can see, there's a background here, and we're going to come back to it. But we're actually going to take a look at that fill on the far right. Fill is going to be what color it could be, or what image it could be, or what we're inserting in it. So we're going to go ahead and click that. And you'll see these icons here underneath custom. We first have the opacity where it says solid, then we have gradient. So we could change that to be a gradient of colors, which might be great for a very long mobile page where we want the background color to change as you scroll down. Maybe you want it to be a pattern, in which case you'll go ahead and go through templates or have a pattern yourself, or you're picking out things. Then we have image and we have video. So I can prove that you can upload a GIF. I did it in one of my earlier streams, so that is an option to you. We're going to go ahead and go to image, and now it's changed this background to be this transparent like signal, like this like faded plaid. And it's saying upload from computer, and I can also edit the image right here if I wanted to make additional changes to it. So heyo, I'm gonna go ahead and upload from a computer, and I have a picture that I do want to use that I took at a hackathon I staffed at, where people were so excited checking out the MLH categories that we had brought, the stickers, and plenty more. And they also had great questions. And then the other thing we're missing is we want to add a text. So originally, I just like clicked after I hit T or the text tool, and it automatically resized as I went. But what if I want this to match the sizing of what I have? So you can see as I'm holding and dragging, I can change the size of my box. And you can see that there's this like catch here where it's suddenly turning red, where everything's aligning on the right. And that's really nice for like if I ever want things to be aligned in the center, on the right, on the text, whatever it is, you can align at different spaces. And this is really helpful to make sure that things are very nicely aesthetically aligned. And then I'm going to change that back from 24 to, well, let's make it 16. 16 is a very common font size. It's very helpful for, I think it's the like normal text size on HTML pages. And I'm going to type lorem ipsum. Oop, I think I left it as a bold, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And so now everything's bold. I might want to change the typography, or maybe I want a different type of font, whatever it may be. I can change all these here in the properties window on the far right. I can change where it's aligned, like the justification, and I can also change where it's like centering itself, whether it's on the top, in the middle, like the grouping itself of where the text is going to go around the box. And I'm going to make dots, and I'm going to just keyboard spam because I'm too lazy to go find a lorem ipsum generator. But industry practices, you're probably going to use some kind of text fill, whether it's lorem ipsum or some other internal tool. Okay, so we've done that. Now what? Now we're going to go ahead and go to doing more with it. So specifically, we're going to create a frame around things where we want to, can you see? Yes, you can. Okay, so you're seeing my notes, which is totally fine. Because if you are wanting to get ahead, totally fine. We did the picture bit. Let's talk about frames. So if you're coming from a different tool like I am, I'm familiar with the idea of grouping things together. But Figma takes it one step further, where they're talking about how do you group things, but also like add alignment or other things to it. And so you want to create a frame as a way to hold things together, even though you're not necessarily grouping things. Like this frame will operate like a grouping, but do just a bit extra. You can still do grouping though. That said, if you have Google Drive, the Control-Alt-G keyboard shortcut on Windows is overridden by Google Drive. So you can't actually use it, like Google Drive for desktop, I mean, you can't actually use that keyboard command. So instead, I'm going to show you the context menu, which is your right click. So we're going to create the frame. So there's two ways to do it. You could click the frame button and then drag around things, and they'll group things together in that frame for you. What I'm going to do instead is go back to this cursor, and you'll see these drop down arrows, so you could like do different things with it. I'm going to select these things. And so I've just dragged with my cursor and selected, and I'm going to go ahead and right click. So for Windows, right click, Mac, that'll be your 2-finger button press, and you'll see this context menu. So if you can't use keyboard commands for whatever reason, even for accessibility purposes or however it is you interact with things, you'll find that most of your commands are going to also be in the context menu that are not necessarily visible around this. So specifically, I wanted to frame the selection. So remember that command option G. I'm going to go ahead and click that, and now it's created a frame for us. Now I'm going to pause and say, hey, good design practice is to label things. So we might want to go ahead and go and rename Command R or Control R our frame. I'm not going to do that for this workshop because we are speed running this. But as you work through things, you probably want to make sure that things are uniquely named so that if you have to copy things, if you're moving things around, you know exactly which thing you're referring to, and not like frame 205 with text box 20. And you know that's really hard to find stuff. So don't do that. Okay, so we have created a frame. Hooray, we love that. Now what we need to do is go to the right tab, and you're going to now go ahead and use an auto layout, which is so nice with Figma. I really love that it does that. You can use that with Shift A. And what that's going to do is just group things together in such a way that we can actually use it. So Shift A, and now you'll notice there's some spacing that it automatically did for us. So I'm going to zoom in a bit. You see this like red slashing as I'm hovering over here. I'll go ahead and hit undo so you can see the change. So right now things were just arbitrarily placed. I didn't care about alignment. I kind of just hoped for the best when I drag stuff. But by hitting Shift A, it's now automatically adding some padding or some margin here. And so if you go here to the auto layout for this frame, remember I selected the frame when I did my auto layout. You can change the flow or the direction of things in your frame. And we'll use this later, so this is why I'm pointing out. You can also change the height and width of the frame. You can change where things are aligned in the frame, and you can change what this gap is, where it's highlighting in pink. And so while it's giving us this gapping, I called it margin or padding. And this is because this is how I work with things in CSS or when I'm doing design. Margin is the thing within a constraint. Padding is the thing, I think, outside of a constraint. Not the best way to explain it. There are many better ways to do it. I think I've done it in a past video, but we are speedrunning and I am like mouth open, no filter. So bear with me. But you can change these things at any time if you want to. So let's go ahead and do that. Maybe I want like a ton of padding. And so right off the bat, everything has shrunken in and now it's got a different highlight where the padding is now 20. And so this is for the horizontal padding. Maybe I want the internal padding on the vertical side to also match. So if I zoom out, now we've got this nice border going on, which like, love that. Now, if I'm like repeating this frame places, now there's going to be like this natural border that really outlines thing, and it's not just all smashed together in a way that doesn't make sense. Okay. So that was just me playing with things. There's some extra stuff you could do. You can change how you want to adapt things. Yes, the corner radius and the stroke. Okay, so we have this frame. We see that it's got beautiful corners. There's no background color that we're aware of. Hooray. What if we wanted to change things? So if we scroll down in the properties menu on the right side, there's this appearance section. What if I wanted rounded corners for my cards because I think it looks a little better and it makes it stand out and off the page, which is usually the case. I can put as big of a radius that I want, but honestly, the standard is probably like 16, or maybe because I don't see it, I might change the opacity or I might change the fill. So I'm actually going to change the fill because I want to see things. And normally I do like a blazing red because I'm just like trying to show contrast. Today I'm going to do blue because I kind of want to see the nice blue. So we've got a nice blue, and now we've got to be able to see those rounded corners where I made it a 16-point rounded corner. And now I'll zoom in so you can actually see it. But you can see there's this nice corner now. Now I've got the beginnings of a nice card. Hooray. The other thing I might want to do is I might want to outline it, and that is called stroke. So let's go ahead and add a stroke where maybe we want it to be a lighter blue. And now we've got that nice like contrast. And maybe I want it to, I don't think I want to change the transparency. I may want to change where this is. So you'll see that as I hover over things, it's changing where it's located. This can be important depending on how pixel perfect accurate you need to be for certain web pages. Just a thought. We're going to leave it as is, but the point is you can add a little bit to it. We can also change how thick it is. So right now it's 1 point. What if I made it 20? That is massive, like too massive. But the point is you can fiddle with numbers at any time, fiddle with the alignment, fiddle with the height, change all these things at any given time. You're the designer, so whatever looks good to you. There are definitely rules out there, but the first job should be just figuring out how to use the tool. And that's exactly what we're doing. Okay, let's keep going. So now we're going to do the actual part where we copy paste this. So we're going to create a really big frame to include the UI card that we created. We're going to use auto layout again. And then we're going to create a label, a layout wrap, set the alignment to top left, adjust some padding and spacing, and then copy paste a bunch of times. So I ran through that really quickly. Let's go step through it. So let's go zoom out. Remember, we have this giant frame here. We can either create a frame around it, or we can use a tool like I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to create a giant frame around it. Hooray. Now we've got a giant frame. Now everything inside that frame is selected. But I need to change the alignment just a bit. So let's see. I have the correct thing selected, just making sure. Yeah, okay. I'm always double checking what I've selected if I can't like tell for sure, because you never know. I want it to wrap. So we're going to go to flow in the layout. And if I hover, it will tell me freeform layout, vertical, horizontal, and then there's this grid beta. I don't think this is the exact thing I want. Let me go double check. I always forget the exact ones because I'm like familiar. Okay. All right. We forgot the auto layout. That's what I forgot. Auto layout. Okay. So there's some like nice, pretty things that are like adjusting for us, giving us all this extra space. Adorable. We love it. We want that top left alignment. The gapping is fine. The padding is honestly too big, but that's okay. And let's see. We'll do this. Wrap. Here it is. Wrap is on the far right. That's why I'm like, I always forget where it is because it's not in this little highlighted one. We want to change it to wrap. And the reason for this is, like I said, we're going to go copy and paste this a bunch of times. So I'm going to hit Control C or Command C, and I'm going to paste with a Command V, or right click paste or Control V, and I'm going to paste it a bunch. And now we have this long line. But remember I said I wanted this to wrap around? It's not doing that. So let's just resize it. Voila. Now that I'm resizing things, heyo, I'm getting the nice wrapping. But my padding is way too big. So let's change it to like 24. And you know what? I think this box is still too big. I think we're going to make it something like that. And now things are, again, they're left aligned. Maybe I want to change it. I'm like, oh, I didn't actually like that. I want it to be center aligned. Or maybe I want it to be super duper center. Whatever my wish may be, I can always change it at any point. Okay, so we've made our UI card project. I've shown you some customizability, but what do we even do with this? So we've made a bunch of copies of my first hackathon. Now what? Well, now we take a look at what it could be like in code. And this is where Dev Mode comes into play. So there's some extra features here on the bottom. We have Draw, Design Mode, and Dev Mode. We're going to go ahead and shift over to Dev Mode, so that way we can actually see what we can do with it. And now our properties panel has completely changed. Now we can see all the information we kind of had. Remember how I changed that padding to 24? And I resized that dimension. And the border is outside. If you've ever inspected window and looked at, like, I forget what it's called, but it's like the properties tab or something, you'll see this properties, this border box thing, similar to the inspect window. And in fact, if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see the CSS that you could possibly need to create a web app with this, or your bare bones HTML, CSS, whatever. The point is, it's giving you all the information you could possibly need. Hooray. But what if I'm not working in CSS? What if I'm working in Swift UI? Well, here you go. Beautiful. It's already giving us some of the information. But it's only given us the CSS, and it's only given us like things that we can like make visible. But what if we never wrote this code in the first place? We just want to create the template. So I have an extra plugin for changing it to anything else that I want. And I want to see it in HTML, where I'm also considering the My First Hackathon and the filler text and the specific like number of boxes that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and click it. And it's going to take a little bit, but it is going to generate all those boxes for me right here, where we've got all of our divs. And I will say, as someone who does do like web development, this is not CSS that I want to see. But if I ever want to see what my design could look like and where I need to obfuscate or optimize, this is a great place to get started, because maybe I didn't know anything about overflow being hidden or justifying my content using Flexbox. This is a great place to go, hey, I didn't know I could use that this way. Let's go research it, whether it's asking Gemini or working with our preferred AI, or even just going and reading some documentation. You now have the keywords you need to go ahead and do that research yourself, which we love to see. And then quick check. Oh, that's a great question. So your right sidebar has layout, but not auto layout. Go ahead and do Shift A, and it will like auto layout stuff for you. Shift A. And then it will automatically change a bit. Then you can kind of change some of those pieces. So as for how I got to the code, it's right here on the bottom, on the toolbar. We saw, I'll go ahead and switch back really quick. So I was under the design mode. And now I've got my toolbar back of all the different drawing tools that I was using. But by going back to dev mode, I can now do a couple different things, whether it's copying some colors, getting measurements, doing more annotations or comments. There's different modes you might be in to do different things. Now, I have definitely done this in a past workshop. I don't really have time, given that I want to give you all a break and I want you all to get access to some things and also get some challenges out of the way, because there's quite a bit going on today. I want you all to have a break. You did not have a break in the last hour and 45 minutes. Actually, perhaps longer. I know Row was before that. Uh-oh, looks like there was a bug. Uh-oh, it did generate the code. It just, something derped. There's a way that you can actually go ahead and copy that code. Go to Visual Studio Code and type in a specific keyboard like shortcut. I think it's like, you need to create a new HTML file that's empty, and then you need to do exclamation point pound or the hashtag symbol, I think. Maybe it's like bracket exclamation point, and then it will auto-complete like a bare bones HTML skeleton. You can paste your stuff into the body of the HTML file and then render it. So the picture may not render because it's not going to be able to find the picture, but you'll get to like see what it's like in like static page. And that's definitely in a past stream that I've done, but again, I wanted to give you all time. The other thing that I wanted to mention that I didn't get a chance to look into, but I want to set you all free to be among the first. I want you to show up to the next Figma workshop and be like, look at all the cool stuff we did. Figma just released like this really cool MCP server where you can now use Figma with like your preferred AI client. And it's using AI agents to generate code from Figma Design, FigJam, and make files. And so I got to actually see this like in front of my face live by someone else running it who knew what they were doing when I did not. But they were able to create like this whole like prototype app, interactive, really, really cool. And I want to give you all a chance to try it out on your own in like your like free time, or like when you have a chance, or just skim through and like watch the video because it was so cool. So I'm going to go ahead and share that in chat if it will send. I encourage you, this is not one of your challenges, but if you're curious, or maybe you feel stuck in creating design things, or maybe you're like, I need this assets, or like, I know what I think I want to see, but I don't know how to get there. I think this will really help you out. It'll jump skip you to the point of working a prototype and being like, oh yeah, I need to add this other filter, or I need to do these other things. And now that I've have this done, thanks to the agent, I can go ahead and focus more on the details that I want to. So heavily recommend you check it out because it was super cool. Now, my goal was to give you 10 minutes. We have 1 minute left. So with wrapping everything up, this was a very speedy stream. You might get more information from the stream on Monday. I highly recommend you check it out. If there's any questions you have, definitely follow up with them. But as you saw from Way's stream, we're always asking for feedback. So as a reminder, go ahead and give us some feedback. I think it's this one, to let us know where streams can be improved, what you'd like to see, what you're missing, all that kind of stuff. And by the same token, I'm also going to tell you who's coming up next. Oh, before I forget, if you haven't checked in and registered, please do that now. And yes, coming up in like 10 minutes, there is a Webhooks Explained workshop coming up. And that's connecting real-time communication between your applications and how to set them up for your project. I think that's with Boolean. So definitely go ahead and check that one out. I know you all have had a busy day. So like I said, my goal is to give you 10 minutes. We are at time. Thank you so much for bearing with me. I know that was super speedy. But yes, that is a great question. You can use the Figma MCP server to help you design your websites, your apps, your mobile apps, whatever. I don't know the extent to which like this is like really developed because I just saw it last week. I know they launched it a little bit ago. There might be bugs, but that's always the case. But it is so cool. Highly recommend. At the very least, try it out. Share with us what you've been doing. Let us know through the demo link, or like post in Discord and say like, look what I was able to create with the Figma MCP server. Guarantee you'll blow your friends away. Okay. It is now time for me to log off so you all can take a break. Thanks so much for joining me. You were fantastic. Great questions. And I do need to follow up with the team about the folks who had some form issues, about a registration error, so that way we can follow up when we've got the time. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a good rest of your day/evening or morning, depending on where you are, and looking forward to the rest of API week. There's plenty coming. So once again, thank you so much, and I hope you get a chance to go take a water break, bio break, whatever it is you need, grab some food before the next workshop.